All right, here we go. Dae Dae, welcome to Vlad TV.
What's happening, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Not as good as you, though, man. How many hits have you had recently?
A lot. A lot.
Yeah, man. Yo, whatever grind you've been on for the last few years, I feel like it really manifested itself like in the past, 12 months.
Right.
Congratulations, man.
Thank
Not
you,
a lot
man.
of people get to the point where you are right now.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
So, this is our first time talking, so let's start in the beginning. You grew up in Atlanta.
Atlanta,
Okay.
Georgia.
Fourth Ward.
Yes.
So what was Atlanta like during that time?
It was a lot of hustling going on. I was around my family at the time. Watching my daddy. So growing up in Atlanta was kind of rough at that time, especially watching my dad. It was hustling, man. He was taking care of everybody in the whole family. So just watching him do that and just maintain it, basically. You know what I mean? Trying to work my move.
Right. Now you had talked about when you were young, you had like a little home studio. But then something happened to that home studio.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna start when I first turned, I'd say 16. My dad had first bought my first studio, and then so we hooked it up in the house. I always had a house studio. My dad always got me a house studio, so I didn't ever have to record anywhere. But at this particular time, we was making the music. I was going to the clubs. We was trying to we was getting the records spent, and we was on the road. And then until the police came and busted my dad a spot. And when they bought the spot, they had unlocked my dad and they had unlocked my brother up. And they took all my equipment, you feel me? So they just left me out here with nothing. So I ain't had nothing, you know what I mean? Because I was running behind my brother and my dad. That's the only two who I was looking up to at the time, watching them. So when they took them and they took my studio, so I just felt like they just took everything from me,
Right, because I guess when they did the police raid, they asked for receipts for all the studio equipment. Y'all didn't have them.
Yeah, I ain't have them.
That's rough, man. I mean, because that raid didn't have anything to do with that equipment.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. We were trying to figure out, why you want every receipts for the studio, for the equipment and stuff. I think they were just trying to do too much, though. You know what I mean? That's how they do.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know a while back, Joel Santana, he was gearing up for his next album, and then he had the same kind of situation. They raided his studio,
Yeah.
They took all his hard drives, and then he just kind of said, "Fuck it,"
How they
It
do.
was a tough thing to go through with all that work you put behind your music.
Too much work. I had a lot of work on that computer, too.
Okay. So they ended up taking your studio. So then how did you start progressing with the music after that?
I ended up going to get me a job. I ended up start working at UPS. I think that was probably my first job I ever had. And I used to be a sorter. And so I had that job by 4 months. And then I ended up getting into it with one of the workers. We ended up hitting outside, and they ended making me end up losing my job. So boom, I'm back to the streets, and then when I went back to the street, I don't know, I just started getting back on the music more, cause I didn't have nothing. You feel what I'm saying? So then I had this friend. This friend hooked me up to this another job. I was doing concrete, and then so when I was doing the concrete job, that's when the money started coming in a little bit more. So therefore, I can start paying for the studio time, paying for go to the club, and all that. So, so the concrete job basically was paying my whole career. The studio time, then going in the clubs and trying to make it look good. You feel me?
Now, by the time you were 23, you had 5 kids.
Yep.
And you had your first child at 14.
Yep.
I mean, 14, you're still a baby.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a baby having a baby. How old was the mother?
14.
You guys are both 14. So both you guys are barely teenagers.
we was already experienced. We was already in the streets. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we was already out there. So I told you I was watching my dad the whole time. My dad was having something going on in the back room too.
I mean, how tough was that though? I mean, you can say you're experienced, but
Yeah.
having a baby of 14 with all the responsibilities of the baby and the costs of the baby, when you're not really making any real income at this point, like how did you get through that?
I had to I had to come up with something, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. It was getting hard though. When I first had her, when I first had my little girl, um, me and my baby mama, we wasn't even on, good terms. But it was just hard because I ain't had no money. I ain't had no job. You feel what I'm saying? I'm young at that time. And then we was living in a messed up community. We was in Lakewood and Ashwood Court. You know what I mean? When the apartments were down at the bottom, man. And I was running the streets. You know what I mean? I was in and out of school. I was going to school, but I was there, but I wasn't participating like I supposed to. You feel me? So it got rough, man. So I don't, we just moved on. Like it just got better. I ended up started getting a job and started working, but it was hard though.
Right, because you ended up dropping out of school after that.
Yeah,
Okay, and you're how old when that happened?
I had dropped out at 10th, so I say I was probably like 16, 17, around the time. Yeah,
Yeah, about 16.
yeah,
Okay, and then you kept having kids. You had 4 more kids.
4 more. Yep.
Okay, so how are you financially making this work? Like 5 kids, the income isn't really there yet.
Yeah.
You're still you're working and you're still trying to do music, which usually so you're kind of sinking money into your music career, but you have these 5 mouths to feed. How are you juggling all this at the time?
God, stay prayed up, man. When we was doing the kid, when I was making the kids, me and my baby mom, we had done planned all our kids though. You feel me? But when we were at that situation, but I was just praying. You know what I mean? I always had my dad on my side. I always had my people on the side, but I was just praying and working. I knew something was gonna work. I was doing sports too. You feel me? Around by that time, I was doing football and basketball. I was good at it. I got highlights and everything on it. So I had hopes at sports before the rap. You feel me? So when I had ended up getting put out of school, all I had was the rap. So when they took my dad and they took my brother and they took the studio, I knew I had to buckle down. It was time for it.
Okay, so you're working on your concrete job. You're going to the studio on the side and trying to make it happen. What happens to make you to make you think like, okay, this could possibly work? Like what's that one event that happened?
I say when I had first did my first open mic. Yeah, when I first did my open mic, it was just like I was looking at the other talents, you know what I mean, and me, and I know I had did better than them that day. So I felt good that time. That just gave me spirit. So I just started going every time they had open mic. And I got better and I got better. And I was grabbing new fans. You feel what I'm saying? People was loving me. I don't know. It's different, unique.
Okay, so what happened from those open mics?
I was meeting people. I was meeting DJs. I was meeting promoters. It just started graduating. You know what I mean? People started wanting me to come to their clubs. They want me to start doing shows. And then it came to people offering me money to come open up a show for them. And it came from me, other artists, and me opening up for them. I started going on their tour, you feel what I'm saying? And it just graduated. I'm still working.
Okay, so when did the deal with Nitty Beats happen?
The deal with Nitty Beat happened, I say, a little bit after I dropped the song. I say I probably made the deal with Nitty about 4 months, 5 months after that. So
After
I
what
say
you
that's
did?
back in, when it was, October. Say October, like 2 years ago, October.
Okay, so that was after you dropped What You Mean.
Yeah.